All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's just shortly after 12 here. So I want to say good morning or good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining us for this session. My name is Tim Owens. I'm one of the conference committee members. I'm joined here by Meg Swecker from the VSTE board. You want to wave, Meg, so people
Hi,
know who you are?
everyone.
Meg's going to be helping me moderate this session, and I'm really just here to introduce the people who actually know what they're talking about, which is Jim Eggenreiter and Remy Pangle, and they're going to be talking to us today about energy and the Virginia Energy Career Cluster and what that means for how you might be able to teach different STEM activities and kind of engage with that within your programs at your school. So with that, I'm going to turn my video and audio off and pass it off to them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're very excited to be here. My name is Remy Pangle. I work at James Madison University at the Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Energy. We had a recent name change there. And I lead our renewable energy activities, and we are a grant-funded entity. And so I work throughout the entire Commonwealth. So no matter where you are, I am a free resource to you. So by all means, email me anytime. And I put my email in the chat, but I'll put it in again. And I think it might show up on a slide here at the end anyway. So we are very excited to be here. There's been a lot of work being done in the last year to release this new 17th career cluster on energy, which we're very excited about. And this new energy career cluster is perfectly timely with the things that are going on in the Commonwealth with regard to our energy consumption and usage and generation, and provides a million and one opportunities to engage students from K all the way through 12 in energy activities. And so Jim is going to give us a nice overview of the career cluster and where we're at with that. And then I'm going to come in and talk a little bit more about some of the curricula and existing activities and other stuff that's out there for engaging students, not just in the high school level, but also at the K through 8 level as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
Thanks, Remy. I'm Jim Eggenreiter. I run a lab in Northern Virginia at Virginia Tech's Falls Church campus that has historically been called the Think a Bit Lab when we were fully sponsored by Qualcomm. And I'm sure most of you know who Qualcomm is. Qualcomm was originally called Linkabit. Now that's how we got our name, Think a Bit. But we just recently rebranded with their strong support to be called the K through 20 STEM Education and Workforce Labs, or just VTDC STEM Labs. And if you haven't been to our lab and you're coming through Washington, D.C., we'll find a safe way for you to visit. Remy gave you a nice background about the 17th Career Cluster. It was a long process led by the energy industry and an energy group called the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium, VEWC. It's part of the National Center for Energy Workforce Development, which also has a strong anchor here in Virginia. But it led to the big thing in the last legislative cycle, where the legislature recognized this 17th career cluster. I think there are only about probably 6 or so states that have recognized the 17th career cluster. And if you're not familiar with the career clusters, they're readily available on the VDOE website. You can also just Google 17 career clusters, or you can go to the Department of Labor's ONET online database system, which is an amazing tool if you want to introduce young people to technical careers. While all that legislative work was going on, educators like Remy and myself and some community college folks and a couple of highly engaged high school teachers worked with the Department of Ed and the industry representatives to identify courses to fit these 4 designated career pathways. Now, if any of you know about career pathways in secondary education, middle and high school, you know that they are increasingly flexible in how students can take courses in one cluster and then take another related course in another cluster, and in many cases get that coveted technical completer certificate right there on your high school diploma when you finish. So you might see these divided into these 4 groups, but they're actually rather interchangeable. The first pathway is fuels production. The second is power generation. The third, energy transmission, distribution, and storage. And the fourth, energy sustainability and efficiency. The first one for which we've conducted teacher professional development is the last one I mentioned, energy sustainability and efficiency. We did that professional development last summer. We're anticipating doing another whenever we think teachers are going to want to engage in professional development next, which probably won't be until the summer, but we'll let you know. We're going to take advantage of the mailing list that these folks have created for us. So we developed the 8 courses over the last year. We launched the professional development this summer. We're working on virtual Virginia Canvas courses so you can access all of this information. Remy and I specifically are wanting to take the lead on developing elementary school and middle school modules that teachers can integrate into whatever curricula they're looking for where they want to have hands-on activities. And that's the real gem of this presentation today, and Remy is going to lead you through that momentarily. There are some interesting promotional videos, including one by Remy, here listed on this slide, and they are available in the PDF that's linked to this session in Shed. So there are some really cool post-secondary outcomes that you can mention if you're looking to implement one of these courses. Will help you. But as part of your rationale, you can show how this leads to post-secondary education and training that leads to very well-respected and even lucrative careers, which could be right after high school while young people work their way through community college. Or of course, they can be after a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, or even a master's degree, of course. We hope that these courses provide opportunities for young people to not just go into these careers, but be conversant in energy issues in general. And that'll come clear as Remy describes her programs. Some of these programs exist in great detail, typically wherever there are job openings in the Commonwealth. We have some data from CEWD on energy workforce demand, and you can see how it's not just the jobs that you see when people come to work on your street or in your part of the county. There's a lot of jobs that are internal jobs in these energy companies where even if you're an accountant, it's going to be valuable to you to have a background understanding of the energy industry before you apply for that job. This map shows where there are energy facilities by county. The lighter the color, the more facilities there are. And give you just a second to spot your place in the Commonwealth and see how light or dark it is. Now, this map doesn't reveal the entire energy industry. It's usually pretty production focused. Here's another way of looking at it where there are specific facilities. But here's what I want you to consider. This is Little Arlington, 26 square miles. And I just went to Google Maps and typed in Arlington, Virginia. Then I did search nearby and I typed the word energy. And you can see all of these other energy companies that pop up. You could search for electrician. You could search for electricity. You could search for electrical and probably get some varying results. This helps you identify employers in your area with whom you can collaborate, sometimes get mini grants, and take advantage of their presence. And I promise they will be interested in the work you're doing. If instead of using Google Maps, you use Google My Maps, which you can get to by typing mymaps.google.com, you can actually create your own maps there. And you can build GIS layers with Google Sheets that automatically populate your map. So you can just go through, get addresses. You don't need Latin long, just a snail mail address or physical address. And it will plot these companies and their name on a map that you create. With that, I'm going to get to the fun stuff, which is where Remy's going to take over. Please ask
Thanks.
any questions in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, for that overview of the career cluster. And yeah, so the career cluster is really focused on the high school level, of course. And so what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit more about the other age groups, the K through 8, where we might want to be laying some groundwork and foundation to kind of bring awareness to these careers before they have the access to the career cluster itself. And so there's a lot out there. And so one of my main roles at JMU in our center is to be a jack of all renewable energy curricula, if that makes any sense. So my goal is to understand what's out there to teach about renewable energy, to help teachers like you all to wade through what's out there and pick the curricula or the activity that's right for you in your classroom and your 2-week module or your 2-day module or what have you. So these are some of the big names that I will throw at you, and I can send you lists of all of these links. But the NEED project is by far probably the most well-known energy curricula that's out there. Feel free to raise your hand if you have seen it or have used the NEED curricula. So NEED is the National Energy Education Development Project, and they have energy education for grades K through 12. And it's very in-depth. I mean, you name a topic in energy and they've probably got a curricula out there. And the thing that I find so amazing about the NEED curricula is that it is free and downloadable. So you don't have to buy their curriculum. They do sell kits so that if you pick up the, middle school wind energy curricula, that you can also grab a kit for $300, $400 that will have everything that you need to do that entire curricula with a class of 25 students, which is a very good deal. But if you're only going to do a couple of the activities out of it, you can also just build your kit pretty easily. So that's what's nice about them being free and downloadable. And we can talk way more about the NEED project if you've got questions, but literally every, wind, solar, coal, natural gas, hydro, energy efficiency, you name it, they've got a curriculum for your grade level. It's pretty amazing.
Hey, Remy, don't hesitate to be curt. You can just say next or something like that when you want me to transition slides.
Sounds good. The KidWind project is another project or company. They're based out of Minnesota, but they sound all wind, but they actually have recently gotten into solar. So they have wind and solar. They do have some free curricula. And then they also have kits and gear and things like that. And some of it's sold through Vernier. Windwise is a curricula guide that KidWind worked on with a environmental consulting company. So one of the topics that they cover that's unique to some of the other curricula is that they cover environmental issues. So birds, bats, and wind turbines. So that is a really nice curricula, again, free and downloadable. Center for Energy Workforce Development, who we've worked with on the career cluster, they have curricula, of course, and part of that is already integrated into the career cluster, but I believe they have some middle school resources as well. 4-H has a wind energy unit out there. Like I said, covering the bases here. Project Lead the Way has a wind energy unit in there somewhere. It's in a curricula that you have to buy, and only one of their units is related to energy. Vernier sells some curricula guides specific to their equipment that uses the KidWind equipment, but also their energy monitoring devices, and walks you through some renewable energy discovery. So anyway, like I said, there's lots of stuff out there. So next slide. I think I'm going to show you a couple of deeper digs into some of these. So if you go to the NEED website, this is what you would find. You could buy the kits. And as you can see, they're small pictures, but each kit has a ton of stuff. So on the solar side, it might be solar thermal, it might have a solar balloon, it might have nature print paper and UV beads, and it might have a solar panel. And then on the wind side, it'll have an anemometer and a wind vane and a wind turbine and some pinwheels. And so it's like a whole unit. And then the curricula books are free and downloadable. Next slide, please. From KidWind, this is just a view of their website and some of their resources. So on the left, I always forget my left from my right here. These are all of the free downloadable curricula guides that you can get into, and they even have some really nice pacing videos. So if I were to teach wind energy for elementary school, here's some pacing guides, and they do that for all 3 grade level, middle school, high school, elementary. And then on the right, this is just a quick view of the gear section of their website, where you can buy different, wind turbine and solar panel pieces and kits, and you name it, it's on there. So they're a great resource as well. Okay, so on top of the curricula, there's also books. I love adding literature in, especially when I'm working with elementary schools, having that literature connection. The Catch the Wind and the Catch the Sun books, I think, are fantastic. They're written by Mortenson, which is an energy construction company. And the great thing about those books is that they're super informational, but they've got real pictures of construction of these different systems, and they are very job heavy. So it mentions a lot of careers, and it's not just, turbine engineer or solar installer, but it's permitting and lawyers and meteorologists, and and it's got every job that you can possibly think of. So it's really nice in making some connections to the career pathways and just careers in general. Wind the World Over is a great historical little book about the history of wind energy. So it talks about windmills and then all the way up to wind turbines. Energy Island and The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind are true stories of energy happening in different places around the world. My Light talks about how the sun is the beginning of all of our energy sources, and all of our energy comes from the sun. So again, from an elementary and maybe even a middle school, depending on which book you're talking about, this is a great way to kind of integrate that literature. Next, please. Okay, and then here's the big ones. We've got curricula, we've got activities, we've got kits, we've got gear, we can bring in literature. But this is like the piece de resistance, I think, of a renewable energy unit, is having the kids apply the knowledge into a competition. And so there's lots of different competitions out here. So you're seeing on the left, the little car with like ping pong balls in a Diet Coke can. That's the Junior Solar Sprint. And that's a fun activity. You can Google it and find out local competitions. Where the kids are building solar powered cars on like a foot scale. And then the solar rollers is the one in the middle that looks like solar panels rolling down the road. That's a much more heavy technical, probably more the high school level, where they actually are taking a good sized solar panel and they have to make it move. And I don't know too much about it. I know that it's a little bit more of an expensive competition, but definitely super cool for kids to engage in. And then on the bottom 2 pictures, we have our wind energy competition and our solar energy competition. So KidWind also hosts and encourages folks around the state or the country to host wind energy and solar energy challenges. So the wind competition you may have heard of, called the KidWind Challenge. We've been hosting it in Virginia since 2012, and they design, build, and test their own wind turbine in a wind tunnel with the goal of generating the most power. And you can see this guy has got like these crazy blades and probably about 5 different gear levels on the back of his turbine. So it gets pretty competitive. That's a fun competition for wind energy. And on the solar side, they have what they call the Solar Structure Challenge. And we have been offering that in Virginia since 2018. And that one is a competition by which you're using solar to power something. So kind of moving away from the car competitions, because those were there and being done well, but in a more practical setting of using solar power to solve a problem, like how do I power a remote building, or how do I I don't know. So as long as you power it with the sun, you are part of the competition, and it's more about your electrical circuitry and understanding what you're doing in that circuit. So it's a little bit more electrical versus the wind turbine being more mechanical. So those are, and there might be more and more competitions out there, but these are just the ones that I'm aware of, specifically for wind and solar. But those tend to be a great way for the kids to apply. Yes.
Okay, so our question is, how can schools be resources for helping parents find job career opportunities in energy? Our parent liaison has done an amazing job of hosting job fairs and parent education events. Have you done any work with parents?
I have not done any work with parents, and I love that idea of getting the parents involved in this career education. To be honest, I mean, career awareness is a huge part of what we're trying to do, but we have not, that hasn't really been our focus. A lot of what we've been doing is getting the content and the hands-on activities into the classroom. And right now, especially with the career cluster and a lot more industry involvement, career awareness tends to be this new focus. So we are wide open to ideas, because I actually don't have any great ideas yet. But we do want to connect with career counselors and whoever. So Jim, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually anticipating funding starting in January to do exactly that. And Remy and I will certainly partner on this. I currently do it for other technical industries, and we use the ONET database, but we have this system where we actually come into a virtual classroom and teach. And of course, we do it about 4 times a week for over 4,000 visitors a year in a normal year in our lab when we talk about the IoT, robotics, and computer science industries. But we're planning to do this with energy careers as well. And there's also virginiacareerview.org, and there's a tab for elementary school, middle school, high school, and then professionals. And that's where I would want you folks to go as educators to get lesson plans and things like that. But we'll happily do it for any audience, especially if it's just a virtual audience, we don't have to travel. Just let us know. Yeah, you can reach me at workforce@vt.edu also. And Remy and I will connect and find a way to connect with you.
Yeah, and through the work that Jim and I have done on the career cluster, we also now have a lot more industry representatives that we're working with, and that's another great way. I mean, we can come in and talk to your students about careers, but it's I think especially the industry loves to be able to get in front of kids and tell them from their eyes, you know, jobs in their particular company or in their particular industry. So we can also link you to other industry folks that might want to talk to your kids as well. Hopefully that helps.
Ready to switch slides?
Yeah, and I know we're getting low on time, so that was the bulk of what I wanted to discuss with you guys. The last of this is just some real specific information to our center at JMU and some of the things that we're doing right now in terms of trying to help students and teachers during this time. So you want to grab the next slide, Jim, and one of the things that we can do is we can help if your school is interested in getting a demo project. So a small demonstration wind turbine or small demonstration solar array. We're happy to help you develop and design that with kids. You know, we always get the kids involved in that and help you find an installer, help you write a grant to get the funding. So we're always interested in helping you get those demo projects at your school to really excite students about renewable energy. Next slide. We have a lending library full of classroom kits. So I told you about the NEED kits and the KidWind kits, and they seem great. They're a little expensive. And if you're only going to do a short renewable energy unit, it's maybe not cost effective. And so I keep one of everything at my library at JMU. And that may not be super helpful for anybody who lives on the other side of the state. So we actually have satellite kit locations. We've just recently, I think next slide, Jim, outlined some of this. relationship with the 4-H centers. So your local 4-H center now has wind and solar kits from the NEED project that we have donated, that we're loaning them, that they can then get out to teachers. So if you really want to try making a pinwheel with all of your students, but you don't want to buy all the materials, you can just go to the 4-H center and borrow the kit. Same with wind turbines and solar panels and all that good stuff. So if you have any interest in that, I am more than happy to hook you up with the person at that 4-H center that you can talk to. And then from my own side of things, we, like Jim, are happy to engage with your classes. We have student kits. So the big teacher kits in our kit library are not being used because kids can't share things or touch things and all that stuff. So we're trying to do our best to create materials lists of materials that kids can find at home or are super easy for the school to provide, that they can do some activities with. And then for others, we can actually loan out student kits that have a couple of solar panels for every kid, and you can borrow them, disinfect them, send them back, kind of thing. So we're trying to do that, and then we'll come in and virtually facilitate those activities with your class. So we can build a windmill together, we can play with solar circuits. And then this is just a little bit more detail about our renewable energy challenges this year. So again, we love the challenges. They're a great culminating event. This year is crazy. It's hard for teachers to facilitate. We don't have the bandwidth. So we're trying to get the kits into the hands of the kids, give the kids the power to do this on their own in a virtual platform. So I have free kits, free. Did you hear me? That's free. They get a whole wind turbine, a whole solar powered structure that they can put together on their own. And we offer Zoom classes on Monday evenings where they can sit in on the class and we'll help them work through their kit. So take a lot of stress off of you guys. So if you are in an area that thinks they would like to benefit for some free resources, you've got my email and Jim's email, and we're happy to answer any questions.
We'll go on to the Discord site and follow up with anybody who wishes to continue talking there. A big thanks to Tim and Meg for shepherding us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. And thank you all for presenting. A lot of great resources there. Yes, I did put a link to the Discord down there in the chat for folks who maybe haven't tried that yet. We're using it as a back channel, and I'd encourage folks to take advantage of that. And so thank you again, and we look forward to the rest of the conference. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.